town of Gorham and the hamlet of Reed Corners. Camiel, thank you for volunteering to talk with me. Camiel, your grandparents, you said a few minutes ago that you did not know both of your mother's parents. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, who did you know of your mother's parents? Which one?
Her father.
What was his name?
Louis DeFries.
Louis DeFries?
DeFries.
And where did he live?
He lived on the Mumby Road, which used to be known as McKay Place. On the Mumby Road, they called it at that time the McKay Place.
Okay, now which one was the McKay Place? Who's there now?
Well, that's where, what's his name is there? Myron.
Van Orman?
Van Orman.
That was the McKay Place.
McKay Place.
Do you know, I was never able to find out, do you know years ago what the Mumby Road was called? You ever hear a name for it other than Mumby Road?
I don't believe I ever did. I don't know.
Okay, so this DeFries farmed the old,
The old McKay Place.
okay, all right.
With my dad and my Uncle Pete.
Okay, now, do you know when your grandmother died?
My grandmother died, she died up here in Rochester. She's buried in the Mount Holmes Cemetery.
Okay, so he moved from Rochester down here to the farm?
Yeah, and
Okay.
she was already dead. She died in, I would say roughly, they came over in 12, and I think she probably died in 16 or 17. She's buried in Mount Hope Cemetery.
Okay, now how about your father's parents?
Those I never knew. Of course, Dad came over here by himself, and they died in Belgium.
Okay, so your grandparents lived and died in Belgium. Did you ever meet them?
No.
Never met them. Did you ever correspond with them by letter?
No.
Okay, now your father, you said, came over twice.
Yeah.
What was your father's name?
Louis Gysel.
Okay, your father was Louis Gysel, and he was born in Belgium.
Belgium.
Do you know the name of the town?
I think he was right close to Bruges.
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 Now, he came over, he was born in what year?
1881.
Born in 1881. So he came over to America. Did you say he settled around Irondequoit?
Yes.
Okay, what did he do how old was he when he came over?
He came the first time in 1905. So he would have been
24? 24. What did he do? Where did he work?
I don't know just what he did that time, but when he came back the second time, I know he worked for the city of Rochester.
Okay, you said he went back to Belgium for a while. All right, and then he came back here with a couple cousins?
Two brothers and his cousin, John DeLauder, and Henry Gysel. He stayed he lived all his life in Irondequoit.
Okay.
And Peter, when they went back after they come over the first time in 1905, Peter went back, but he stayed. He didn't come back again. He stayed and died over there.
So DeLauder, you're talking about, did he farm on the Footer place as well?
Yes.
With his uncle?
Peter was my uncle. John, how would he have been related to Peter was married to my mother's half-sister.
Oh, that does get confusing.
Yeah. See, he was a veteran of, he fought in the Belgian army, World War I, and he got gassed over there, and he died. I could remember. I remember he died in, he died about I think as early as 1934.
Okay.
I remember going to his funeral.
Was he sickly?
I guess, yes, he died, they said he died of cancer.
Okay.
But I remember he was very young. He must have been in his mid-30s, probably, or maybe close to 40.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll come back to Footer's farm in a little while. You were born what year?
1926, June
Nin-
12th.
June 12th, 1926. And your mother's first name?
Marie.
Marie. Mother's first name was Marie. How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 3 brothers and 2 sisters.
3 brothers and 2 sisters. Margaret?
Louis was the oldest,
Okay.
and then Margaret, and then Lydia, and then Rennie and Charles and me.
Okay. And how many are still with us today?
Just me and my sister Lydia is all.
Where does Lydia live?
Lydia, she lives in Rundequoit,
Okay. Stayed up there.
and she's 10 years older than me.
Okay. Now, now you, when you were born, where did your family live? Which house did they live in?
Well, when we came down, we and see, there was 2 boys were born on the where Norman is now, on that place there. And
You and Rennie?
Charlie and Rennie were born. I was born when we lived on that was Fred Bram's place. You know, the place, my old homestead. I was born on the old homestead, on the Mumby Road.
Okay.
Yeah. I was the only one born there. Rennie and Charles was born when they lived down on the McKay place, and Charlie, or not Charlie, but Louis and Margaret and Lydia were all born in Rundequoit.
They were earlier.
Yeah. See,
So your dad was in Irondequoit, then he was on the McKay place, and then he was on your old homestead.
Old homestead.
Okay.
He bought that place from Fred Bram, the old homestead.
Okay.
Fred and Marion Bram. She was Marion Burgess.
All right.
Yeah.
This is where there's no house anymore.
Yeah.
Near the driveway that Dickie Freer
Yeah.
owns your old farm.
Yeah.
Well, when you Gysel kids were young and came down here, did the older kids go to the Hecker school?
Yeah. Louis and Margaret did. But see, I don't. Lydia must have too, I would think, because Lydia was born in 16. Yeah, Lydia was born in 16.
So she probably would have gone there.
I kind of doubt it. 16. So, 1922, she would have been 6 years old. I think she probably started school in Reese Corners.
Okay. When you were over on your old home place?
Yes.
How many acres were on that home place that you bought from the Brams?
Close to 70.
Close to
It was
70.
Small.
Small farm. You were born in 26, you said, right? When you were about 6 years of age, who were some of the kids that you palled around with besides your brothers and sisters?
Well, there was the only ones I knew was Fred Royer, of course. He was
Okay.
right across the road from me.
Now, Fred was Stewart's son,
Stuart.
Pappy.
Yeah.
Did you know him as Pappy?
Yeah, somewhat.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course, the kids I went to school with would have been Floyd Gage. He's my age. He's a month younger than I am. And of course, Gene, Bob, and Dorothy. And Bobby Faig, he lived on County Road 18 on Van Hook Place.
Okay, yep.
Van Hook Place. That was Bobby Faig.
When your first and second grade, you walking to school, who did you walk with?
Probably, probably your father, or your father, Bob. Of course, he's 2 years younger than me. And Probably the Hearts of Girls, Arlene and Elma.
Would they meet you like at the Depew and Mumby Road?
Yeah.
Okay.
Arlene and Elma. And Lloyd, he was somewhat later.
Okay.
Lloyd never went, I don't think Lloyd, he never went to Reach Corner School, I don't believe.
Huh. Went
I
to
don't remember
Gorham?
him in Reach Corner School.
Did you go cross lots or did you always go up the road?
Oh, a lot of times we cut cross lots.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
A little quicker?
Yeah, it was quicker.
Did you go down the lane on Mumby Road, Mumby Farm and cut up back of the Henry place?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Okay.
the way we went. Down and back.
Well, you must have had some pretty bad weather that you...
Oh, yes. In the wintertime, when it was real bad, the snow was awful deep, my dad, he used to hook up the team on the sleigh, and he would take us all to school. So that would be myself and Fred, and then he'd load up your father, Bob, and usually by that time, the Hearts of Girls was up on the corner, and we'd load them up. And that was their load. And a lot of times at night, he'd come back at night when the snow was awful deep. He'd pick us up at 4 o'clock.
Now, did you go to Reed Corner School first grade to 8th grade?
I started there in the first grade in 1932, and I went through the 7th grade.
Okay.
Because in 1939, when we started going to Gorham School, I did my 8th grade in Gorham.
Oh, okay. Did you have Mrs. Conklin as a teacher, or did you have someone else?
Mrs. Conklin was my first teacher.
Mildred Conklin.
Mildred.
Were there any teachers after her at Reed Corners?
Yeah, Beatrice Northrup.
Okay. She became B. Wilson, didn't she?
Wilson.
Okay. Tell me about your day at the Reed Corners School when you're 3rd or 4th grade. What time did school start? Somebody ring a bell? How'd that work?
Yes, the classes started at 9 o'clock. And
Was there a bell ringing as your...
There was a bell up on top, on top of the roof. And the teacher had a rope hanging right down through the ceiling by her desk.
Really?
She could reach out and ring the bell, and everybody had to be in their seats by 9 o'clock.
What kept water from leaking in around the rope?
I don't know. I don't remember, but it never did.
Really?
It never
Okay.
did. No, it came down through the roof and down through the attic and but it never leaked.
Oh, there was an attic.
Yeah, there was an attic, pretty good sized attic up there.
Was there? What did they have up in the attic? Anything? Any storage or anything?
Probably stored some old books and that kind of stuff. I remember a small attic.
Now, was the main entrance for that school, was it off County Road 18 or off the Depew Road?
The main entrance would have been off of County Road 18.
Okay. So that
faced the south.
it faced the south. Did it face pretty much directly south, or was it at an angle?
I would say directly south.
Directly south. So you walk, is that the only way in? One door?
One door.
There was no other door in.
Other door.
So you walk in that first door, what do you have to your left and your right?
As soon as you got inside that door, to your left was another door that went into the classroom.
Okay.
But there was in front of that door that you came through, there was another door about 6 foot away, and that took you into the cloakroom.
Okay.
That was we called it the cloakroom, where we hung our hats and coats. But in the northwest corner of that cloakroom, that would be the northwest corner of the cloakroom, was another door that took you right up to the teacher's desk. So there's 2 doors going into the
Okay, so the teacher's desk is kind of on the north end of the building.
north end. Yeah.
Okay, this cloakroom, did you play games in recess in bad weather in there, or was it just for coats?
Well, we used to, yeah, We would spend quite a lot of time in the cloakroom in bad weather. Yeah. And we always, I think a lot of us used to eat our lunch out in the cloakroom if it wasn't too cold.
Okay. No heat out there.
There was no heat there.
Was there a window on the north end in the cloakroom?
Yes.
That's how it was lit?
Yeah. There was also a window on the south side of the cloakroom. You see where we went into the school, there was like a little vestibule there.
Okay, that's you come in there.
Yes.
Okay. Do I recall that there was another room to that school that may have been used years earlier, or am I thinking of the cloakroom? Are those the only two rooms besides the vestibule?
Yes.
That's it?
That's it. Of course, and the toilets. The toilets were off on the back of the cloakroom.
Okay,
The girls, that would be back into the east.
okay.
The girls was on the left corner, and the boys' toilet was on the right corner.
Okay, were they chemical toilets, or did they go into a
Into a tank.
tank?
Into a tank.
Into a tank, okay. All right, so they were inside?
Inside.
Uh-huh. Must have been kind of ripe in hot weather, wasn't it? Or wasn't it too bad?
We never noticed.
Okay.
I never noticed. No, I never noticed.
When you were third and fourth grade, did you have each person have a desk?
Oh, yes.
Each person had a desk. And did you have to supply your own pencils and paper, or did the school supply that?
I think we supplied our own, I'm quite
Okay.
sure.
Did the bigger kids sit in front or back?
The bigger kids sit to the back.
To the back.
To the back.
All right. Do you recall, on average, how many kids when you're 8 or 9 years old would be at that school?
It would run right around 16 or 17, and that would be a big class.
Okay.
A big,
Did they fluctuate much with maybe the bigger boys doing farm work if the weather was good? Did the farm kids have to spend some of their time farming it, or did they
no, I don't
were in
remember
school
that.
mostly?
They went mostly to school.
Okay.
You know?
How did what was going on like 9:30 in the morning? What would Mildred Conklin have you doing?
Well, she would usually call I think the first graders up front,
Okay.
and they would sit on the bench. You had to sit on the bench, and the bench would hold probably 6 or 7. And she would then have them for a half an hour, and then excuse them, and then she'd call up the second grade.
Now, what is she going over? Having them read to her, or what?
She would read to them. She would read to them a lot of times.
Okay.
And they'd have them read to her, and then just, well, yeah, discuss, different things, as I remember.
So then the first graders would go back and sit down and
Now,
do their work, and
yeah,
second graders would come up.
yeah, and the third and fourth, and fifth, sixth, and seventh. And I remember that it's 38, I must have had Beatrice Northrup for my 6th and 7th grade.
Okay. Had Florence Conklin had Mildred Conklin had gone to Gorham School at this
Yes.
point in time? All
I
right.
think so. 36 was her last year. I'm quite sure down here. 37 we started with Miss Northrup. 37 and 38 we had her 2 years.
Did you have a morning recess?
Yes,
Just 5 or 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
And what did you do? Go outside and run around if the weather was all right?
Yeah, we'd go out. We had, we could run around. We had a giant stride. We had slides. We had a giant stride.
What's a giant stride?
Well, it's had a big pole, about 15, 18 foot, and had the chains coming,
Okay.
the chains coming down with the handles on it.
Okay.
I think there was a ring around where the chain was onto the ring, you know,
Okay.
and would hold about probably 10 kids. You had your
Swing around.
swing, and you could run and run, and the faster you run, after a while you was going all, you hang right out in the air, you know, as you come around. You hang right out there.
Do you ever remember anybody getting hurt at school or get sick or anything?
Yeah, I can remember, oh yeah, it was a swing. I was on the swing, and they had steel, you know, the seats had this, they were all, you know, steel mounted, you know, the seat was mounted in steel. And I must have been about, I couldn't have been probably 10 years old. And I must have been swinging pretty good, and somebody else was too. And I got clobbered in the temple, or in the eye, with a corner of that swing. It didn't knock me out, I don't think. But I know they took me inside, and I was laying on the bench, and the teacher and the girls, of course, they was all fussing over me. But by the time I got home, my eye was swelled up like a baseball. And I remember my mother well, the teacher did something in school. She put this hot pack on it with, what's this stuff they used to put in to draw swelling down? I can't think what it was. A funny smelling stuff.
Wasn't flaxseed, was it?
God, it might have been.
Flaxseed polis?
I think that's what it was.
Okay.
I think the teacher done that in school. I'm quite sure. If not, I know my mom.
Boy, you're lucky you didn't lose your vision.
I know it hit me right here in the temple, and it must have been pretty bad because I don't think it knocked me out. I don't think I was unconscious of it. Because I remember laying in the school on the seat, on the long desk, and of course the teacher and all the older girls, they all wandered around. You know how kids are.
Sure.
You know,
Tell me about lunch. Everybody brought their own lunch, didn't they?
Yeah, everybody brought their lunch. But in the wintertime, once the weather started getting bad, like getting cold in October, probably started in October and it run through March, the mothers used to take turns bringing a hot dish to school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we had that the whole 5 days.
Did your mother always bring the same thing when it was her turn?
Not really.
No?
Not really.
Was that one day a week, or how often did they do that?
I think we had it just about every day, maybe. If I can recall, we was talking to my wife the other day, and we was talking. But, well, there was probably 14 mothers.
Okay.
So if they revolved around, you know.
Would there be that many mothers if there was only like 16 kids?
I believe so. I can tell you who they are. It would have been Laura Gage, my mother, Mrs. Sampson, Mrs. Breyer, Mrs. Hartson, Emma Hall, Mrs. Hall, and Elsie Ridyard, and Emma Washburn.
Was that Don's mother?
Don's mother.
Okay, where did Sampsons live?
Sampsons lived in that little house just below the church. East or west of the church, the old church that used to sit there in the corner across from the parsonage.
Okay, where Henry's lived?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Where Tom and Marge Henry lived? That was Sampson.
Yep.
Okay, and where did Lydiards live?
Lydiards lived down on County Road 18. That first house down, as you start down County Road 18 on the right-hand side.
Real across from the old Gage place? Or farther down where Betty Feaster?
Farther, the next place down.
Where Betty Feaster?
Yep. That was Clifford and
no, I'm sorry, Savage.
Savage.
Savage lives there.
Lives there now, maybe.
Okay, yeah, that was Lydiard.
That was Lydiard.
Okay. So, what did you like most about country school, and what did you like least about country school?
Well, what did I like most? Well, we used to, in the winter time, we used to have, you know, for Christmas, We would always put on a big plate for Christmas.
Okay.
And we'd have what they called
Was that in the church or was that in the schoolhouse?
in the school.
Must have gotten kind of crowded, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, we would have at Christmas time. We'd what would they call it? Had a what they call it, a fish pool or something. All the kids would bring presents, but not specific for anybody. And they'd all put them in. They'd package them up, and then we had a curtain strung around the corner of the room with a fish pole with a string over the end, and you put your string over the end, and whoever was on the other side would tie this package to your string, and when you brought it up and brought it back to yourself, that was the Christmas present that you had, and you don't know who it came from.
Oh,
That's
were some better than others?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Did you have a school play too that you did?
Oh yeah, we'd have, yeah, and then, about a week before Christmas, we'd have that school play, and everybody in the neighborhood would come.
And they do it at the school?
At the school, everybody. The place of that little school was packed. You couldn't get enough.
It's funny they didn't do it in one of the churches.
No,
They could
no, we
fit
always
more
did it.
people.
We always did it at the school. I remember then, I remember my role in a lot of them little plays that we did. I remember.
Did they tell a story, or what was the point of the little play?
Well, I can't recall. I wouldn't dare say. I couldn't recall just what.
Was there a lot of singing?
Not too much. I remember my role one year. I had my little Mexican cowboy hat on there, and I was a sheep buyer from Australia.
Okay.
I remember that.
Huh.
Yeah, I was a sheep buyer from Australia, and I had my little, like a Mexican cowboy hat on with all the little, the little round hanging on the tassel hanging on the outside. And I liked that role pretty good. I guess I played it real well. Everybody said I was great.
They had your sombrero on, huh?
Sombrero, yeah, sombrero.
Now, did some of the older boys get in trouble sometimes? Or not too much?
No, everybody got along pretty good. I don't remember. We never had a serious fight. Nothing like that. All the kids got along good.
When you're 7 and 8 years of age and you're not in school, what did you do for fun, or did your dad have you working mostly?
Well, Fred and I, when we weren't working, of course.
Now this is Fred Royer.
Fred Royer. We spent a lot of time together because after school we were always together. We were out in the field somewhere. We was always into something.
This is 1934, 35, along in there.
Yeah, we both had rabbits. We was both raising rabbits. And then in the fall we used to trap skunks together.
Okay.
We'd trap all winter long.
Was there much of a market for skunks?
Oh yes. Yeah, it was good.
Now why are you trapping skunks as opposed to like raccoons or?
Well, we was catching raccoon too, and skunks, because there were a lot of skunks.
Okay.
But we caught them all fall, and oh yeah, there was a good market for them. And we caught a lot of muskrats, him and I. But I mean, we was
How young are you when you're doing all this?
10.
Really?
Oh yeah, 10, 11, 12. Oh yeah, we started at 10.
Huh.
Yeah, Stuart had a pair of mules. But the one had died, old Jenny had died, the mare, and they still had Jim left. And so Fred and I, we used to get on Jim on his back in the morning, and the two of us would ride around bareback before school to check our skunk traps.
What time would you meet to go out and do this?
Oh, shortly after 6.
Wow.
In the morning.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, then we'd be back home. We'd get back home about 7.
What were the skunks dead, or did they?
No, a lot of times we'd have to kill them.
What, did you shoot him with a 22 or what?
No, I don't remember. We didn't carry a 22 with us at that time. I guess we probably hit it with a club, I guess.
How did you do that without getting sprayed?
Well, we probably did get sprayed, but I don't remember us smelling that bad. I don't remember us smelling that. We had to. I know.
Now, were you trapping on those 3 farms, on the Royer and your home place, and
Yeah.
footers, or?
And
Mom?
down on the footer place,
Okay,
and the Royer place, and of course our place.
okay.
And probably, up on the Mumby farm somewhat too, I'm
Okay.
sure. Oh, yeah.
So there was a market for skunks.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Did your father let you keep some of the money, all the money?
We kept all the money.
Kept all the money.
Kept all the money.
What'd you do with your money?
Probably bought school clothes.
School clothes?
Yeah.
Okay. Was there ever any farm ponds or any place for you to go swimming in the summertime? Or not really much anything?
The only one there was over on the Yahtzee Road. That was Zimmerman Pond. We call that the Zimmerman Pond. It was a gravel pit that had just been freshly dug out, and it was on shale, had a nice shale bottom, and the water was just as clear as
Now, where was that? Is that north of Depew Road?
West. Oh yes. Yeah,
North of
the Yahtzee,
Depew.
the Yahtzee Road just it'd be half mile up off of 5 and 20 on the Yahtzee Road.
Okay,
If you go through there now, that's all road in full of cattails.
okay.
And on your left-hand side as you're coming up the Yahtzee Road.
All right, that had just been,
It had just been dug as a gravel pit. They dug a lot of gravel out of there for some road. Probably 5 and 20.
sure, sure.
That's what it was, 5 and 20, when they put the new road in on 5 and 20.
Okay,
When they put concrete in there, I bet that's where that gravel went.
so you're able to go swimming there for a while?
Oh, yes, for years.
No kidding.
Years. Just as clear as a crystal. And there was only one deep spot in it that we had to be careful of. But
Did you know how to swim?
Not very good, no.
Not very good?
Not very much of a swimmer.
Okay,
But all the kids around there, I mean, all the Hecker kids and all of George Zimmerman's kids, Paul Zimmerman and the 2 sisters, Jean and Clara.
Hearts of Kids come over? Did the Hearts of Kids go over?
No, the Hartsfield kids never went. The
Okay.
Hartsfield kids, they didn't. Of course, Fred Royer and I and Lawrence Freer, Bud, and Glenn Hacker, and the Smitham kids, George and Evelyn,
Okay,
they was there. And,
wow,
yeah,
that sounded nice.
That was a good one. You see, George Zimmerman, he kept welfare kids at his place.
Hmm.
And he'd have, a lot of times, 4, 5, 6 welfare children, And of course, they would all come up at night with the Zimmerman kids.
Uh-huh.
So, God, there'd be some nights there'd probably be 20 kids out there in that pond.
Did you have to work for your dad quite a bit, or?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Once school let out, see, we raised a lot of beets and carrots and cabbage. And them carrots and beets, they had to be wet. They had all them little weeds in them. So myself and my 2 of my brothers and my 2 sisters, we would be weeding beets and carrots probably, pretty much the whole month of July and probably into August. We was in there every day except Saturday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday, he didn't make us work. But the rest of the time, we were out there weeding beets from 8:30 in the morning on our hands and knees.
Huh.
Oh, yeah.
That pretty hot weather, I bet.
Oh, yeah. I remember. I'd never forget that. I was so...
That little creek where you trap, was there ever more water than there is now? Could you go swimming there at all, or?
No. That creek has always been about the same size. It's
Okay.
the same size then as it is now.
Okay. Now, I remember the house there on Mumby Road. Were there a couple barns then?
Yes. There was, two good-sized barns right to the north of the house.
Okay.
To the north, there's the big, of course, the cow barn and the horse barn was combined.
Okay.
And that had the big loft over top where we put our hay. And then to the west of that was a great big grain barn to the west of the cow barn.
Okay. When were those torn down? And who tore them down?
I think, I think my brother tore them down and,
Rennie?
Rennie,
Okay.
and I think Raymond Gysel.
Your nephew?
His nephew. I think he got a lot of that lumber out of there.
Okay.
He took a lot of that barn, the old barn lumber, but they tore them down.
Is there still a foundation there? Any stone?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't. The old barn hill, I guess you could still find. To the big grain barn. I think the barn hill might still be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many cows did you have? 2 or 3?
We usually had, probably our tops would have been about 5 cows.
Okay.
We always had 3 horses.
Did your dad sell cream, or what did you do with the milk?
Yeah. All the milk went through the separator and we sold cream.
Okay, who'd you sell the cream to?
Palmyra Dairy, a dairy in Palmyra.
Okay.
They picked it up, I think maybe once a week. I remember the truck used to come around. It was Palmyra Dairy, they called it.
How much did you send out on average?
Oh, probably 3 cream cans every time he came.
Is a cream can like a milk can?
A little smaller.
A little smaller.
A little smaller than a milk can.
Okay.
We had probably 2 or 3.
How did you keep the stuff cool? Was it sitting in water or something?
We set it in cold water down cellar, in well water.
Okay.
We had to keep cold well water, and we had the cream cans were sitting down cellar in the tub.
In the house?
In the house, in the cellar.
That kept pretty good, didn't it?
Oh yeah, with the cold, we'd put cold, well water.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, that kept, yeah. And we always had at least 3 pigs. So the skim milk that we got coming off of the separator always went to the pigs. We'd mix that in there with the grain, you know.
Okay.
We'd take a half a pail or a pail of skim milk and then put a lot of ground oats and ground barley in it.
Did you drink some of the milk or no?
Oh yes, oh yeah. Yeah, we drank fresh milk.
Okay.
And we drank a lot of skim milk, you know, the skim milk.
Now, what kinds of cows were they? Jerseys or Guernseys or Holsteins?
Well, we had them mixed. We had a couple Jerseys. We always had a couple Holsteins and Jerseys, and probably once in a while we'd have a Guernsey.
Okay. All right. You said the farm was 70 acres.
Yeah.
Now, was there a little bit of a pasture for the cows and the horses?
Yeah, there was about, well, that one pasture lot there was about 6 acres. It was woods. That's in there where the beaver pond is now. That was our pasture.
That was the pasture. Okay. So did you have to bring the cows up at morning and at night to milk them?
Yeah, there was a laneway down from the barn down to the, and the laneway was not fenced. We would just walk the cows down to the pasture lot, and they would go through the gate, and then we'd close the gate behind them.
Okay.
And at night when we brought them out, we just opened the gate, the cows would walk up the laneway into the barn, and the horses we usually led. They usually had a night after work, they always had haulers on, of course.
Okay.
And it was about a quarter of a mile. We'd have to lead them, you know, with a hopper, and then once they got inside the pasture lot, just unsnap from the hauler, and away they'd go, and the morning we'd go down and bring them back home again.
So the pasture lot was fenced in?
Fenced in.
Okay. Did you said you had carrots and cabbage. What else did you say you had?
A lot of beets.
A lot of beets.
A lot of beets, carrots, and cabbage.
Okay.
And then there was a pretty good sized orchard on that place. And we had sour cherries, the Montmorency cherries. So every year we would pick cherries there for probably 3 weeks.
Really?
The canning company, I forget who it was now, would come and pick up the sour cherries. But
Did
then-
you raise hay or corn?
Oh yeah,
also?
we had hay and corn, and wheat, oats, and barley. Of course, that you went for horse feed and cow feed.
Okay.
You know. And once in a while, towards the later years, once in a while we'd have a field of buckwheat. But we always had hay and wheat, oats, and barley and corn. And then once in a while, along with our beets and carrots, there was a few years there where we'd put in 2-3 acres of turnips.
Turnips, huh?
Turnips, and we sold them to the Camiel Soup Company.
Hmm.
Yeah, Camiel Soup Company bought it, and peas. We used to grow peas for the Rushville canning.
Okay.
For canning factory.
You on that little farm had a lot of different crops.
Oh yes. Well, you see, that was a very fertile. That farm was very fertile.
Okay.
Oh, very fertile. Yeah. Beets and carrots and cabbage done fabulous on there.
Huh.
Because it was not clay. It was a heavy black loam.
No kidding. Okay.
No, very little clay on that farm. Except back in where Dick lives now, on the knolls, was clay.
Now, so your dad farmed with horses then.
Yeah.
Did he eventually get one or more tractors?
We got our first tractor in 1941. We got our first tractor,
What kind was that?
Alice Chalmers.
Al Chalmers.
Yeah.
Where'd he buy that?
Don Howard.
Don Howard?
Don Howard.
Okay. That, was that a 2-row tractor?
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, 2-bottom plow? You
Yeah.
pulled?
2-bottom plow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, 2-bottom.
You probably enjoyed that, didn't you, going from horse to tractor?
Oh, yeah. We were tickled with that. Yeah, because, well, it retired the horses pretty much, you know. Of course, we didn't plow with the horses no more after that. But I can remember when I was a kid, plowing with the walking plow behind the team, behind 3 horses.
Tell me about that.
Well, I was small then, about 12 years old, but with 3 horses,
You'd have trouble keeping up with them, wouldn't you?
yeah. But you had to be very careful because if you hit a rock, you could get your ribs broke because if you hit a rock, you see that plow would tip sideways and the handles catch you underneath the armpits. It could break your ribs. So I had to be very careful. Not hit no rock because when you hit a rock, your handles would go like this, you know.
So you had 3 horses then?
3 big Belgians.
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 Is that the only time you'd need 3 horses together is when you were plowing?
No, we always had 3 horses on the grain binder. We had the Massey Harris grain binder. And when we cut our wheat and oats and barley, we always had 3 horses on the grain binder.
Is a grain binder like a combine? What is a grain binder?
Well, it cuts it. It cuts the grain, and it had the fans that will push the grain back on the table in a straight line.
Okay.
And then as it falls on a belt, and as it goes up into the belt, there's a string will come around. It'll tie itself and automatically cut the string, and the tied bundle comes out the other side of the grain binder.
And then were those put up in shocks or?
Shocks.
Okay.
And shocks.
How many men or boys would be involved with this grain binder operation?
Oh, all it took was, just the driver and maybe one other guy.
The one guy was kind of stacking them together?
Yeah.
And how long would they be stacked together before you do something with them?
Oh, they could set, we used to put 12, 14, 16 bundles in a shock, Sometime we would make what we called the long shock, and sometime they had what they called a round shock. And they could sit there in the field like that for 3 weeks.
Really?
For 3 weeks. And then when we got ready to thrash. You know, sometimes
the kernels wouldn't fall out?
No.
Why is that?
Well, they, unless you got a lot of rain on them. But I don't recall that too much. But a lot of times,
Are you talking oats or wheat or barley or all three?
all three of them. A lot of times, we didn't thrash out of the field too much. Most of our stuff went into the barn. We would go out with the wagon and load the wagons up, take it up to the barn and fork all the bundles back into the mow until we had everything in there, and then maybe a month or 6 weeks later, we'd get the thrashing, when the thrash machine could come, pull the thrash machine in on the barn floor and fork all the bundles into the thrashing machine.
Now, so the kernels aren't shaken out of the bundles then?
No.
How heavy would a bundle of wheat be?
A bundle of wheat would probably be, I would probably say 30, 35 pounds.
That much?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say probably 35 pounds.
Could one person handle a bundle at a time then?
Yeah.
Okay.
A good strong guy could take 2 at a time, you know, catch your tines in 2 bundles. And yeah, a good strong guy could do it.
Now, who did the thrashing for you? Phil Freer?
Phil Freer, yeah, he thrashed ever since I can remember. Harry Ruger, he was around. He done a lot of thrashing at that same time.
Where was his home place?
At that time, he was down on County Road 18.
Near, what's there now where he was?
I think he was on, that would be the first place. Well, what's his name there? You know, the plumber, the heating guy. He's got the business there.
Oh, going up toward Grace Bigham's house?
Way past. Way down past. Go down County Road 18 over the Yahtzee Road.
Oh, okay. Dan Cause?
I think Harry was the next place below Dan Cause.
Okay.
I think that's the house he was in.
You know, I wish when I was a kid, I got over to talk to Phil Freer.
Oh, yeah.
I hear he was a character.
Oh, he was.
Tell me about Phil Freer. I wish I'd known him.
God, he had an awful gift of gab. And he had a lot of stories to tell. He could tell stories, you know, from, he was born over here. I think he was born here. The only boy out of that family that was born in Belgium was Camiel. But the other 2 boys, Art and Phil, were born here. And of course they lived over on the Yahtzee Road, where Larry Freer lives now.
Okay.
That was their home. So Phil lived there, probably pretty much through the teens and through the 20s.
Was it hard to understand him?
He had a little bit of a Belgian accent, but very light, very, very slight. You'd hardly notice it.
Okay.
Because he went to school, all his schooling was here. I don't know just what schoolhouse they went to. They must have went to, I don't know.
They were on Yahtzee Road?
On the Yahtzee Road.
Would they have gone to Depew's Corners or Reed's Corners or Hecker District, wouldn't they?
Well, yeah, they went to the Gorm District. Yeah, because Bud, Camiel, he wound up on that place, and that's where Bud was born, Bud Freer Lawrence.
Okay.
And Bud always went to the Gorm District.
Okay.
So he went to the Depew's Corner School.
Okay. That's where Lightfoot's went, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What do you remember about Phil Freer?
Well,
Do you remember any of his stories?
Oh, yeah. He was a great friend of, he was a great friend of old Carly Pratt and Ernie Kursky.
Yeah, the undersheriff.
Yeah, he was a great friend of Ernie Kursky. He said, and Howard Washburn, old Howard Washburn. He was a great friend of Howard Washburn. He was a Hopewell boy at the time.
Okay.
And Carly Pratt and Ernie Kursky. And who else was there? God, I can't recall now. But I remember, I think it was in I can remember when it happened. It had to be 1936. 36, I think it was, 35 maybe. I can remember well. It was the day before Thanksgiving. They were over to Camiel's on the Yahtzee Road, and they were shredding corn. And I guess the machine, corn stalks got wound around a shaft inside the machine. And Phil stuck his hand in to loosen up or pull the stalks out, and it caught his hand, and it cut, I think, 3 of his fingers off. This happened he said it was dark at about 5:30, 5:45 at night. The day before Thanksgiving, and it took his thumb off and cut him right off at the knuckles. I remember that real well. I remember when it happened. It was after that. All Phil had was just these 2 fingers here. And I often wondered about how he lost his fingers, and then he told me one day what happened. Yeah, I remember that.
When those guys would go around thrashing, did they work on a percentage, or did you have to pay them so much an hour or a day, or?
They paid like wheat. If they thrashed wheat, I think you paid by the bushel.
You paid a dollar amount
Yeah.
instead of the grain.
Yeah.
Different-
Dollar amount. Yeah, you paid a dollar.
Different crops, they'd get a different amount of money?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was probably a counter on the machine. So I guess every time it dumped a bushel or half a bushel, when it dumped, that thing would count it.
Okay. So if Phil Freer brings his thrashing machine onto your dad's place, is it just him and the machine, and you have to supply the help?
Yeah.
If you're thrashing barley or wheat, how many people does it take to keep it going?
Oh, barley or wheat, you could probably keep the thing going, probably 10 or 12 people.
Okay. You've got one.
That's if you've got it, if you say you've got it in the mow. Of course, if you're drawing out of the field, if you're thrashing out of the field, and to bring it up to the machine, you'd have to have there would probably be 4 or 5 wagons with either a team of horses or with a tractor on it. So you'd have 10 or 12 guys working out in the field, besides 3, 4, or 5 around the machine. So
Is this a steam engine running this thing?
Some was steam. Harry Ruger, he always had steam, but Phil, he had the Hart Par tractor. So they ran on kerosene.
Kerosene.
You started them with gas.
Okay.
They had a little engine on them. You started them with gas, and then after she got warmed up a little bit, you would kick her over on kerosene. It said burn kerosene. They were Oliver Hart Par, and they were a great tractor on the belt. They had a lot of belt power. They were noted for that.
So when you're out here in the 1930s, these are tractors.
Yeah.
Running these things.
Yeah. Harry Ruger, he always had steam. I remember him. I remember with the steam. But he didn't trash for us. We always had Phil because he was closer. But I don't remember. Those were the only 2 I remember clearly. But I know there was different.
Now, thrashing with steam. This is a steam engine.
Steam engine, yeah.
Huh.
They were fired by.
Did they draw water from the creek where you trap now? Where'd they draw their water?
God. That I can't tell you. I don't remember getting water out of the creek. I don't know how they got their steam.
My grandfather said that down there where that gas line is on the Martin farm, there used to be enough water there that they could draw water down by that little laneway that goes back.
Oh, yeah.
But there must have been a spring or something there.
Yeah. I believe there was. I remember something. Down across from the house, you mean?
Yeah.
I believe there was.
Were there ever any fish in that creek?
No, I don't think so.
Was there ever any fish that you remember in this little creek here?
Not any fish.
Okay.
This little creek here?
Yeah.
There used to be a lot. I used to catch a lot of muskrats in there.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Right
Just
from here all the
just
way
down past the cemetery then.
Yeah. I never remember any fish.
Where's the closest to here you're ever able to fish? Other than Canandaigua Lake, was there any fishing around here?
No. No, I don't believe so. I don't remember any little. Well, the only creek would be Flint Creek, and that went down through Gorham.
Okay.
We used to go over there when we was kids in Flint Creek
Okay.
and catch bullheads. But that was the closest spot.
Where'd you go fishing when you were at Flint Creek?
We went back,
You go by Depew Road,
yeah, we went up.
by Rippy's?
Yeah, we went up off on the Kearney Road. East of the Kearney Road. We'd go down that laneway, east of the Kearney Road. It took us right down in that woods.
Okay.
See, it was that place where Mennonites are living there now. It was Frook, the big farm
Yeah.
where Bob Frook used to be.
Oh, okay.
The big farm.
Yep.
It's a Mennonite now.
Okay.
We're down that laneway, and there's where we went on our bicycles. We're down
Okay.
that laneway, down to Flint Creek, back in the woods, and there's where we caught the bullheads.
Who's we?
Usually Bud and Glenn and I,
Okay.
the three of us.
Was Glenn a freer too?
Oh yeah, Glenn was
I don't know him.
Phil's boy. And,
Oh, okay.
And Lawrence was Camiel's boy. They were cousins.
Oh, okay. I thought they were brothers.
No,
All right.
No, they're cousins.
All right. Did you eat the bullheads?
Oh yeah, yeah. There was a lot of them in there. We used to go over like on Sunday afternoons usually. We all had bicycles.
You go swimming in there too, or was it kind of muddy?
We could swim in there. Yeah, it wasn't muddy. Yeah, we could swim in there. Yeah. We all had bicycles. Of course, I say we was 12, 13 years.
Are you too young to have ever heard that they used to bring rafts or barges up Flint Creek to Gorham? Did you ever hear that?
I never heard of that.
Okay. Tell me about the Reed Corners store in the late 30s.
Well, the late 30s, yeah. Well, that was a meeting place for everybody around. We'd all meet in there, and if we could, at nights after supper, about 7 o'clock on, everybody would start coming. And
Was that the one-story building
yeah,
there?
Yeah.
When did Brailis take that over?
Oh, Brailis took that over probably in about 1950.
Oh, that late.
That late. It was late. Yeah, they did. See,
Who had it when you were the youngest you can remember?
I don't remember. I don't remember Earl Winnie running it.
Okay.
It was right after Earl Winnie, and I think Earl Winnie probably left like 30 or 31.
Okay.
And then there was a Mrs. Randall. She ran it, and she had a guy named he was clerk. He clerked in there. His name he was Canandaigua guy. His name was Ralph Quayle. But Mrs. Randall, she was an elderly woman. I remember going in there in 32 after I started school. I remember going in there because I used to go in and get the tobacco for Diamond Dick on the Mummy Road. Old Diamond Dick used to sit on the rock, And Mrs. Randall was running the store then. And then I think shortly after that, Albert Graham and his wife, Mabel, took it over. They must have took it over maybe like 1935 or 36.
Who was the older woman you said lived there or ran it?
Mrs. Randall.
Randall.
Randall, her name was Randall.
Would she have lived out in back, or would she have a house nearby?
I think she lived, see, the other store, she must have lived upstairs. You see, that store then was right next to the big house. That further one, that was not there then. That wasn't built yet.
Okay, so the store you're talking about is the second building north.
Yep, the second one. There's the big house,
Yep.
Mamie Miles' house, and then the next one, that was the store.
Okay,
That's the one that
you're talking
Mrs.
about.
Randall, yeah. And then I don't know, I think Albert Graham must have put that new building up when they went into the store, because I never remember Albert Graham in the old building.
Now, did Albert Graham live on Depew Road?
No,
Where'd Albert Graham live?
Albert and his wife Mabel, she was a school teacher. They lived on Scotland Road.
Oh, so he'd drive out
Yeah, they
from
drove out.
Canandaigua?
Yeah, they drove out.
Oh, I just assumed they'd live out here.
Uh,
So the first person you remember having a store was Earl Winnie?
I don't remember Earl.
Okay.
I don't remember Earl Whitney having the store
Okay. But it was in that second building.
in that second building.
Well, wasn't there a time, Camille, that there were two stores going in Reed's Corners?
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time.
When they closed up the second one, and then they opened the new store, and I think that was Albert that went into the new store.
What was on that lot before the new store?
I don't believe anything. I don't think anything. Probably just lawn, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Albert Graham had that one-story store built. Why would he move over there? More room, or?
I think probably. But they, see, they probably had, I think they had, yes, they did. They had living quarters in the back.
Okay.
So, probably one or the other, probably the wife, or maybe it was Albert, but they were still living in Canandaigua all the time that they had that store. They still had their house in Canandaigua on Scotland Road.
Okay.
But I guess maybe they both didn't go home at night. If they went, maybe one would go and one stayed in the store. But
How late would the store be open at night?
9 o'clock.
It'd be open till 9 o'clock in the 1930s.
Yeah.
What time would it open in the morning?
Oh, probably at least 8 o'clock.
So one of them would stay out overnight out here?
Yeah.
Probably take turns?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, they had the two kids there, Earl and Jane. And Earl, he was the oldest. And but they, at that time, those kids there, pretty much stayed out on Scotland Road.
Okay.
We'd only see them down here on weekends.
Okay.
They stayed up, of course. They went to Canandaigua Academy, I suppose.
Okay.
And we'd only see them on weekends.
So you'd go down to the store. Did you have chairs or something out on the porch that you'd sit and talk on, or?
Oh, yeah, in the wintertime they had a couple of big long benches inside along the wall, and everybody would get in there. And of course, back then everybody smoked, and everybody had a pipe going, a lot of cigars going, a few cigarettes, not too many cigarettes, mostly pipe cigars. So about 9 o'clock or 8:30 at night, when the west wind was blowing about 80 miles an hour, Albert, he would open that door and hold that door open for about 2 minutes. He said, I gotta clear the air out of here. I gotta see who's in here. And he'd hold that, he'd say, close the door, Albert. And it's 15 below zero outside, and he'd stand there with that door open to blow the smoke.
Was this to give people the idea that it's time to go home,
I
or?
think maybe he would do that about 8:30, 8:45. I think that's what it was. But at 9 o'clock, he would chase you out. Because he worked on See, he worked, he was a lineman. He was a lineman on Rochester Electric.
Okay.
Yeah, so him and Mert Wilkerson and Leon Graham, his younger brother, they were all linemen. So they had to get up in the morning for work, you know, so Albert probably got up at least at 5, by 5, to get to work. So he would chase us all out, and there'd be, oh God, everybody was in it. There'd be 25 people in there. You know, Mina Dewey and Delbert, and John Gage, and oh God, everybody around, the Washburn kids, and everybody was there. I mean,
All ages?
all ages, everybody. A lot of kids, and a lot of old guys. The old guys was always there, you know. Fred Harris and Jim Parvis and Martin Clone, the older men, you know, and the Frankish boys, they were always there, George and her.
I bet Herb would keep things stirred
Oh,
up.
God, yes, yeah. And John Gage, and then there was the Munson family, lived right here next to the bridge, this house right here.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Munson family, and he was Mr. Munson, he was a conductor. He was a railroad conductor, and he had the one daughter. I can't think of her name just now, but she was always in there, and of course, Hazel Wilkinson's daughter, June would have been my age. She was always in there, and of course, Mina Dewey, they were great friends of Mina Dewey. Mina was always in there every night. And Delbert. And
Mina was a Wood, wasn't she?
Mina Wood, yeah. Her father was Gilbert Wood.
Well, this is in that, again, we're talking the second building.
Yeah.
How is there room for all these people plus the stuff?
Well, there was yeah. See, that whole south wall was a big bench. That was there were 2 benches side by end to end. So you could get 20 people in there easy.
What are some of the things that kids would buy there at the store?
Oh, they had all that penny candy, and penny candy, and gum, and popcorn, and nickel candy bars.
They had a popcorn machine there?
I believe so.
Okay.
And of course, all them nickel candy bars to them was a nickel, you know. For a nickel, you could buy any candy bar you wanted.
Did they sell, they didn't sell beer there, did they?
No.
Did they sell tobacco products?
Yeah. A lot of
Cigarettes and cigars?
Cigars, yeah, and cigarettes, and a lot of cigars. And cigarettes. And,
Were they selling oil and gloves and flour and cheese and?
yeah.
Did farmers bring eggs and stuff in on trade?
I don't remember that. I don't remember that. But they sold gas. They had gas pump out in front.
In the 30s, did your family do most of its trading in Canandaigua?
Yes.
Would your family ever come up to Reed's Corners to buy stuff, or mostly just Canandaigua?
Oh, we'd come to the Reed's Corner store probably, 2-3 times a week.
Oh,
We would buy stuff in the Reed's Corner store.
like what?
Oh, sugar if we needed it. Sugar and, what else did we get? Probably some canned goods or something like
Okay.
that. But usually, we'd go to town on Saturday. My mother would go on Saturdays, and then a lot of times, she would take butter and eggs along with her and take them into Canandaigua, probably Joe Weifel's grocery or the Murray Brothers.
Mm.
And you could swap your butter and eggs towards your groceries.
Would they both of those grocers give you about the same amount of money toward?
Oh yeah. Joe Weifel, he was one of the Weifel boys. You know, Martin. He was a brother to Martin, and
Okay.
The Weifel. Was a big family. There was about 7 boys, I guess.
Hmm.
I knew them all. John, John and Ed and Martin and Joe. I guess there were 7 of them, and two or three sisters. They were big. They came